cold is scary. It numbs you. It could make people go insane. You may see things that don't exist. If you were to live in an isolated village, away from the mainland civilization and along with a small group of villagers, what if they judge you? Will you be able to be alone, free from loneliness? Would you accept the decisions you make and its consequences, all alone by yourself? Or would you succumb to guilt and regret? The choices you make shape your life.
Hey guys, welcome to Get Traumatized today.
I'll be talking about this half romance, half horror interactive visual novel game by Tully Center called The Doll Shop. But oh boy, don't let that half romance part get to you, because this game's more on the pretty freaking disturbing side of things. The game was released in 2018 and was created by a French duo named Tully Center from a collaboration with students in the ECV Bordeaux 2018 event. The story is based on the duo's inspirations from their travels to Japan, which for them is a land that exists between reality and fantasy. In other words, they've been consuming too much of LSD. It is a game about a doll maker living by the countryside of Japan in an isolated region where even the cable cars feel depressed to enter, as we only see the cable car the final day. However, an unexpected visitor comes to the town and the doll maker's life starts to change drastically for the worst. I mean best if you could make the right choices. Not really. This game creates suspense very well throughout the gameplay, such as visions of a red room to feelings of being followed in Winter Village to like pieces of doll shards belonging to an unknown doll mysteriously appearing out of the thin air. This guy literally lives in a doll house of horror. The sounds of wood creaking and silence of a doll room basically staring back at the player. Even one of the characters in the game calls him like he's out of a horror show or something.
Why are we still here?
There are clues spread throughout the world, from warnings in Japanese languages, emphasizing on specific emotions, to objects present within the game, to doll making puzzles, making the player piece the puzzle themselves. Get it? Piece the puzzle? Okay, I'll stop. We also have to find 5 posters around the town that tell a story as we explore it from the doll maker's perspective. One of my favorite aspects of the game is its art style. Watercolors give the sense of children's storybook nostalgia, yet hidden within the innocent and beautiful visuals are some terrifying stories. You may notice the game has a day and night cycle and make up for some visual treats, and the wind blowing constantly throughout the game that you can't hear yourself. Jesus. Oh wait, hello? Can you hear me? The game has 3 endings, and based on the choices you make, you may get to ending C, which is truly a bizarre one, fellas. As you enter the home screen, you are visited by this butterfly slowly fluttering at elegant speeds down to the main logo of the game. Now the problem is that I have to wait for it to land so that I can read the next part of the script. And yes, it lands in its place, freezing in time, while an ominous music plays in the background.
It's day 1, and we are introduced to Kobayashi waking up abruptly in his workshop. He considers it unprofessional of him to have done that, showing he takes his work quite seriously. After moving to his desk, we can see a realistic-looking doll, possibly an Ichimatsu doll, in his finishing stage. We as the players have to decorate the doll with red powder using the sharp tool. Finishing the doll, he prepares to hand it over to Mrs. Fujimoto.
The Mrs. part. I wonder why they put the Mrs. in front of Fujimoto. Does it have any importance? I don't think so.
But before we go to her house, I explore a bit of our own. We learn a few things. The people tend to prefer to buy cheaper dolls, suggesting, he's not having good business with the fact that he has expensive stocks in his house. The time in the clock is 4:44. We'll get to that later. When I also use Google Translate to see what the text above the shelf says, we get the word calm.
This is quite a contrast to the behavior of Kobayashi. This is more for trust me. He gets pretty agitated and distressed a lot of times. He can't handle the smallest shit to the point he calls himself a failure.
Emotional damage!
What is that? Interesting looking poster. No problem. Google to the rescue. Look at that. That's magic. It's a missing girl. Her name is Hikari Yamanaka. 6 years old, and was lost around 15th of August 2 p.m. It seems that he has put the post out of consideration. When we check the calendar, Kobayashi states that it's almost New Year. Having explored the area thoroughly, opening the front door creates a soothing chime. You walk outside and you face this. It's relaxing. as if your parents were telling you a story in the cozy nights of Christmas about old folklore. And that it's fine to open the door to Santa but not some strangers, son. In the lonely outskirts of the town, you can still hear the howl of winds fighting to deafen your hearing, immersing you into this winter world of the doll maker. Translating the sign on the board in front of our shop gives us the name of Kobayashi. For the purpose of making it easier to refer to him, we will call this character Kobayashi. I enter the first place and ask around the town for Mrs. Fujimoto's address. Wait a minute.
Is she an alien? Have the developers forgot to put colors to them? Did they run out of time? Not actually.
It's because Kobayashi views the world by alienating anyone else apart from those who are very close to him. Quite similar to how Shoya Ishida from Silent Voice views the people. You ask around the town and get answers from a bathhouse owner and eventually reach Mrs. Fujimoto's house.
Kobayashi hands her the doll and she thanks him by giving some tea. We reject, but she's like,
Here's the motherfucking tea.
Now, what kind of tea is brewing? You will see that.
Hesitantly, I enter the hall and get bombarded with questions regarding marriage, which makes Kobayashi behave in the following manner. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, she just slided into his request for marriage casually. Remember how her name was Mrs. Fujimoto? In case her husband is not dead, this shit is even worse. Kobayashi eventually leaves the house and plans to have dinner outside. Note here that it is better to constantly check in with the general store owner for a parcel we are awaiting, which is not yet revealed. He says that it isn't available, so we head to the noodle shop where we get the third soundtrack. It's uplifting and sets my mood to feel more energized and happy. They have a casual chatter. Bear in mind that the responses you choose can get different answers from the person you're conversing with, but it only matters for the third day, and until that you just get some different perspective. So they converse about how they used to have some very good old memories about the town being much more lively before. Exiting the shop, you are introduced to the dark side of the village. A creepy music plays in the background, the village looking like an abandoned old town with no life except for the guy roaming around by himself. This mysterious music that plays right now is my favorite out of the game. Turns the atmosphere instantly into an anxiety but also an intriguing one. Visiting the shrine at night makes him say that it has an ominous presence to it. Going southwards leads us to the end of the game map, but there is also an opening in the forest. Strolling through this path, we go to the JUJUTSU statue that lays there sleeping. Eventually, after some exploration of the city in the night, catching some cold and some spirits in the draft, we head back home. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we just entered a red room. Now, red room? What red room? Is it this creepypasta stuff in Japanese? Not really. It doesn't ring a bell at all. You don't have to worry about that. He uses the red room to hold his most prized possessions, and we can see that he's also a butterfly collector. Here we meet someone that we did not know he had all this time in this house. As disturbing and intriguing this conversation is, you may notice that he says, "I didn't say to Mrs. Fujimoto that I have someone else." Is he trying to say that he's into this young doll? Nah, he's just into lollies, that's it, nothing to fret, folks. After this fever dream sequence, we get to build our butterfly collection. Kobayashi is wasting away serious amounts of money in his butterfly collection, as they all seem exotic and rare. And as you can see, we pin them all down, we just kill them straight up. Probably they're dead already, but they may not be dead already, but it could be not dead because their soul may still be alive. But hey, I'm speaking too much, Jesus Christ. You may also see how he states that he feels pretty lonely as well, and he wants to escape reality. This sets up a good base for who Kobayashi is, but not fully. He uses this as his coping mechanism, but from what exactly? He's done pinning his stuff down and he goes to sleep, and then we get this creepy shit. A disturbing visual about many silhouettes in it. We are awakened abruptly by the loud ringing that brings us back to reality from the red room. What does that room mean? What was it zooming at? And who are these silhouettes? Then, the game heads to the second day. So we get a ring from Mrs. Sato, one of his regulars, and when we go to his house, we can actually see the first thing is a banner in the middle, which when translated gives the word lonely. The grandfather's clock is 4:44 again. Fun fact, in Japan, the word death and 4 are both called she. People tend to see it as a bad luck number. I guess you get where this is going. As we head into the room, we see Mrs. Sato's doll is broken on the floor, with its face shattered to pieces. He learns that Mrs. Sato's granddaughter had broken the doll, and this leads to the reveal of a new face in town. He calls her a child without knowing how old she was, and it leads to a slightly awkward conversation. We then pick up the doll and leave the house, and Mrs. Sato's granddaughter smiles at us as we leave, almost as if she was quite happy to see us. Outside the house, the doll maker says a creepy freaking line where the doll weighs as much as a small child in my arms. There are so many times where I have to say in this video, don't worry about it, it's nothing to be alarmed about. We head to our doll shop and begin to put the cracked pieces. This foolish little Sato girl broke and glue them together. We also obtain an extra porcelain piece, mysteriously not belonging to the Sato's doll. After gluing the doll, we go take a bath. Also, you may have noticed that the posters are in different places. One is the bathhouse, one in Kobayashi's place, one is in the general store, one is in the noodle shop. But the fourth one, I like to keep things suspenseful because it happens after a very weird event. Now, Kobayashi states that the people are forgetting the missing girl and gives small tidbits of information regarding Hikari and shows sympathy for her. A sad story of being forgotten as a river of time continuously flows. This mystery will begin to unfold later, depending on the ending you choose. After having our bath, we coincidentally run into the Sato girl. We discover that she is actually Kobayashi's childhood schoolmate. They rejoice the wholesome reunion, recalling some fond memories such as how she carried out a mischievous prank on him and has not changed too much. He invites her to his doll shop and they part ways, but Kobayashi gets interrupted by the bathhouse owner, who gives him another piece of a doll that he claims to have seen in Kobayashi's cloakroom. But where are these pieces coming from? He never had a doll. This is a mystery that will continue to recur until the end of the game. Now he goes to the noodle shop to basically enjoy his time, and the noodle guy's like, yeah, you maidenless guy, I know what you're happy about. Kobayashi heads home and has a conversation with his creepy doll again, and talks of the Sato girl. He also reassures that the Sato girl would all be fine, and he is glad that the doll is actually not jealous with him. He also feels sad about her eventual departure and wants the doll to meet her as soon as possible for some reason. This is the first time he shows signs of interest in a real, colorful human being so far. Okay guys, day 3 is a very important one. It is also this day things start to turn more paranormal. Now also, I would refer to Kobayashi's childhood friend as Sato from now onwards and her grandmother as Mrs. Sato from now onwards. Why, you ask?
Because I said so.
Now Sato visits Kobayashi and they start to speak about this weird trouble about sleeping. In fact, Sato tells that she has this same weird dream about a red room. Definitely nothing to be alarmed about, not alarmed to the extent that Kobayashi actually jumps in his place. And if you can see before, in his dream where he was having a bunch of silhouettes, one of them looks like Sato. Food for thought. But my goal for this game is actually to not make Sato leave us. I probably just want Sato to stay with us because Kobayashi would be happy by doing that, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? I say dreams don't have meanings, followed by Sato saying, I guess we all have our dark sides. Now, while this could be a bit alarming, this is actually relating to Sato saying how a work environment can be pretty stressful, and this will be explained throughout the game. He also talks about his doll so passionately, almost as if they were alive, and Sato is like, Jesus Christ, you maidenless boy, just touch some grass. This would suggest that Kobayashi has been judged a lot of times, possibly back in school days. Perhaps his liking to dolls may have raised some eyebrows and got him to be bullied. So this time I choose the decision to make Sato feel as if the town life is too stressful. Don't go there, just stay in the village. Then she reveals the information that she will be leaving.
When I was playing the game for the first time, I truly felt happy for the protagonist that he's finally seeing someone with vibrant colors, which can lead to a meaningful relationship. But this scene made me feel bad for Kobayashi. Finally comes an important line where she states, "Our choices shape our lives." She leaves and I begin to use the sandpaper to carefully take down the glue. But then I realize I need some powdered whites for the doll. Going outside the house, something odd happens. Let's see if you could figure it out from the gameplay. I would love it if you could You thought I was gonna say subscribe, like and share my video? Nah, I ain't that pathetic. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. Please subscribe. Like. Please subscribe. 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 About this content. There's no music at all. They made you conditioned to music whenever you're walking everywhere and around, but then there's no music. So this only tells that you're going to expect some creepy shit to happen. So what happens? He goes to the store and then we get a parcel. And Kobayashi is like, "Do you want to see the parcel, boy?" And the store owner is like, "Get your crap out of here. I got my own shit to do." And then Kobayashi is like, "What do you mean it's too late? Let me go outside. Holy shit, have I slept this long? It was not dark before." Is his perception of time changing? What the frick is happening? Is he sleeping too much? Or is it simply just me becoming blind? I got no idea. Reaching the noodle shop, we discover that she has left the shop. Kobayashi has missed his one and only opportunity to have a good date. He pissed off the girl. And then that's when I was like, I regret my life. I regret it a lot.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer.
The noodles owner, however, tricked us. "You sneaky freaking bastard. Guess what? I like you even more." Sato actually comes to the noodle shop at that moment, but she says she was also losing track of time. So they eventually have their reunion. Kobayashi actually reveals a vibrant blue morpho. I meant morpho for M-O-R-P-H-O. Kobayashi states that he likes to pin them on the boards so that the beauty never fades. And finally states that the butterfly is his most beautiful possession and will keep it in Sato's memory. "Congratulations! You've become maidenless!" She gets weirded out, and as she should. This also suggests that he is a person who appreciates a lot of beauty, and even if that method involves suffering. This is also the first time he seems to be directly saying to Sato that he has interest in her. They get their noodles, and the noodles guy actually says lovebirds. Awkward! Then the conversation gets interesting. The Sato girl begins to talk about the girl who went missing. She describes of an incident in her city about another schoolgirl whose classmates killed her, and even the neighbors knew about it. She also questions Kobayashi if it bothers him, and as you can see, he either gets to say he knew the kid or did not know the victim. Kobayashi says, "Don't say like that, I like the kid a lot," which would mean that he also knew the little girl. The Sato girl asks a great question: how did the little kid disappear in such a small village? And then it leads to this. So this makes Kobayashi think, what if I say it to her? But the problem is like, what are you talking about, Kobayashi? I thought I was rooting for you, guy. With the nerve-wracking music, we are revealed for the first time that he has some frightening issues in the head. Behaviors of serious mental health problems where his imagination is merging in with his reality, as well as severe anxiety has all caused him to break down in front of her. His thoughts begin to flood. A sea of distress and conflicts overwhelms him. Suddenly, it's nighttime. We go to their door entrance. We see a butterfly outside in the middle of winter. It's not possible. This time, filled with butterflies, creating a path towards an earlier spot we visited. This unsettling walk leads to this scene. After clearing his head by the JUJUTSU statue, another piece of doll shard is obtained. As we get more of the pieces of the puzzle,
the more scattered the mystery is. It whispers, "Don't be afraid, trust me." Has he been transported to a different world? What is happening? The fact that there are butterflies lining up to the JUJUTSU doll may mean something. Or is this simply the cold playing tricks on Kobayashi? Kobayashi states the door is open. In this previous day, we can see that it is closed just before he leaves the house to follow the butterflies. So someone may have come inside his house, or he does not remember having locked it. Almost as if blocks of time are being taken away from his life. Something very odd is that Kobayashi never put the butterfly in the cage the night of the incident. So this further adds to the mystery of who put the butterfly in the cage. He prepares Mrs. Sato's doll using white and red powders. Trying to leave the doll shop, he sees a poster, the fifth and final one. He calls it a sick joke and uses the term they/them frequently. From the previous day's events, I would bet that he's talking about the voices in his head who accuse him of something. He gets a fourth piece of the doll from the door. We give the doll to the grandma and she tells her granddaughter has gone for a walk to the shrine. He immediately rushes outside and forgets to give his money to the grandma, who makes a big cash profit out of it. Kobayashi gets to the fifth piece of the puzzle by the shrine after feelings of being stalked.
So, buckle up guys, the game is about to get to its finale ending C. But before I get you there, I want to get you to ending A. I think going from ending A to B to C is a proper order of enjoying the game. I would say that way you not only the game gets more intensified for each ending, but also ending C requires a lot of explanations that you'll see as I would say later. To get ending A, we make certain choices that makes Sato leave the village, unlike what we did before where we want her to stay in the village. So for instance, telling there's no future in the village, or actually telling the dreams act as a warning, eventually makes Sato leave the town. She turns to just another dark silhouette, a nobody, someone not significant to his life anymore. She says that something isn't right about the place and says Kobayashi to leave too, to which he responds saying it's his home. It's also the only time in which the doll seems to talk a few words as she says that Sato would have left anyways. We could say many of the things he experiences are in his mind as he imagines the doll to be his partner, which will aid his loneliness. He loses Sato but is able to complete his collection of butterflies. There are also questions as to whether the doll could be haunted, and it is not revealed what happened to the missing 6-year-old girl either. This ending is simple to explain. It's a story about a one-sided love, one from a man willing to find from having a family that does not judge him. But he realizes that forcing her into his family will not work at all and lets her go, despite still feeling like his heart is stabbed by Sato's departure with a wound that clings for a while. It's also the ending we apparently have saved our childhood friend and also able to collect
all the butterflies which will be stuck in time forever. Now, when it comes to ending B and C, they go in the same sequence of events, and there's only one choice that Kobayashi really makes that leads to whether you get ending B or C. Also, through these routes, we actually get even more information regarding the missing girl story, not just what we've seen before. So what we should have done is that ensure first that Sato does not leave the village and make her feel the town life is actually pretty shitty. It plays out as follows. So Sato visits us in her doll shop at day 4 right after we come back home from a walk in the shrine. There is no talk of what happens on the third night except that she stressed us out, and eventually they get into an exchange where Sato feels like Kobayashi has not changed, doesn't understand that his hobbies aren't mature at all. She keeps judging him as if that he does not get anything. He keeps insisting that she should visit the red room while a noise intensifies in the background. Eventually, he convinces her to visit his red room. Succumb to Kyoto and the choices you make shape your life. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. If it wasn't pretty obvious, he definitely freaking has the missing girl in his house, dressed up as a freaking dog. The Sato girl runs away, and our main character actually starts to believe that this is how things should have come to be. He feels guilt for his actions and believes that he should be punished for it. The butterflies from his collection begin to fly, symbolizing him being free from his guilt. Ending C gives an even more odd perspective. And ending C is like taking LSD with Coca-Cola or something. And this is what happens if we choose to turn off the lights. We hear the sound of something break in the dark, and it's Sato's face. But this time it's a doll that's broken, her pieces shattered, her lifeless body laying on the floor. Kobayashi does not let the hollow face be empty. He takes his blue morpho from the cage that is dedicated for Sato and puts it inside. He fixes what he broke. Her dreams, they were warning about something. However, our choices made her not look at the dream so seriously as with ending C. In a disturbing sense, she stands down but with a face in with one strict emotion. He has preserved her beauty. Those doll pieces were for no one except for Sato girl. It is also revealed that he arranged a search party in the forest before as well, but no one found her. What a psychopath is the easy answer here. Now that we have unlocked all the endings and collected the 5 posters as well, we get some bonus content, and this is what happens. You may be questioning, what does this all mean? How is he getting all these doll shards?
You may question, is there anything paranormal, like what's happening? Or is this simply Kobayashi suffering? What happened to the missing girl? How did she end up here? What, this is so bizarre, like didn't the villagers know this was happening? Why does Kobayashi even view the people this way, like shadows? And what's up with this doll shop? Is it haunted? Or is it simply something else? Why was he facing this weird time-changing phenomenon? Is he forgetting things? Is it all in his mind again, like we said before? Or did Sato breaking the doll have to do anything with this? What does the butterflies actually mean? Like, why is he putting the butterfly inside her face? So many questions, it just makes it puzzle.
Throughout the game, we see themes of loneliness widely present, whether that's Kobayashi saying to his doll how lonely he feels, or Mrs. Sato's house holding a banner that screams lonely to the players. Or it may also come down to Mrs. Fujimoto, who's so lonely she wants to cheat on her husband who may possibly be alive. The isolated winter village encaptures this feeling of abandonment from society as a whole. We know that Kobayashi was fond of Hikari, as he states in the noodle shop, if we choose to. One day, after school, around 2 p.m. in August 15th, Hikari may have visited his doll shop without anyone knowing, and does so on a casual basis as she loves to play with his dolls and would not judge him for it. Kobayashi may have asked her the question of whether she wants to join the family, and insisted her, as with Sato. Feeling forced, she would have refused the offer, which set off a mental breakdown for Kobayashi, where the voices in the head began to whisper to kill her. They said that she would get him into trouble, so it's better to kill her off now rather than later. Kobayashi can be merciless and selfish when it comes to meeting his own needs, such as when he does not care about the pain of small creatures, or the fact that he wants to turn Sato and her grandmother into dolls, as with ending C. So he ends up doing exactly what the voices said, and uncontrollably ends up stabbing the little girl's eyes, leaving a hole behind, as we see with her corpse here. He hid her corpse in a red room, disguising her as a doll, and then began to use countermeasures such as search parties for distraction away from his home. It reminded me of the Russian doll man. He was caught for his weird obsession of holding corpses of dead girls. He dressed them up as dolls to meet his needs for loneliness, a bone-chilling story. In short, Kobayashi's misery are both in his head and in the real world. His loneliness and possible childhood trauma makes him overthink, and he becomes delusional with no one to help, and cannot separate the difference between reality and imagination. Improper care of his mental health has led to this giant amalgamation of suffering. This could explain a lot of things, such as his meltdown by the noodle shop, hallucinations, and his distressed attitudes to a lot of things. So Kobayashi is a person who is already losing the battle, and we are just seeing him deteriorate throughout the game. In the story of Jujutsu Kaisen, when people tend to attach an overwhelming amount of negative emotions to a particular place, person, item or concept, these things begin to manifest into the real world as curses. Their power is stronger the greater the concentration of their negative energy is. Similarly, in the case of Kobayashi, it appears that the dolls he holds an obsession with, general fear around creepy dolls, and the mental health issues from loneliness in the village would all be concentrated into the dolls of the holder. As they arrive to Kobayashi's doll shop, small residue of this negative energy is left behind. A life-changing experience occurs where his inner desires to have a partner to accompany his loneliness resulted in the death of Hikari Yamanaka, as described before. There was sadness surrounding her disappearance, and in short, a large build-up of negative emotions flowing within the village manifested as an entity. It has various abilities associated with being able to manipulate dead corpses, and that's right, even turn people into dolls. This is because the negative energy mostly attributes to me the loneliness and sadness of many people that could be treated by having the dolls that could listen and accompany them forever. This reminds me of the town of Nagoro. Ayano Tsukimi, in order to cope up with her loneliness in a dying village, ended up stitching hundreds of dolls. The entities, however, a much more darker one and goes beyond any normal acceptable human practices. Feelings of being stalked, Sato saying Kobayashi to leave the village due to a strange energy in ending game would all point out to the entity's energy flowing around the village. While Kobayashi keeps himself less lonely during his work breaks, communicating with the dead corpse of Hikari, seemingly alive to him. The entity wants to feed on the souls to thrive. It cannot sustain itself any longer from the negative energy residue in the doll shop. It ends up contacting him in his dreams to feed it more souls in exchange for turning people to dolls, who don't judge him and would stay with him forever. However, his guilt from killing the girl and fear of being taken away led to him seeking a more peaceful life. He was satisfied with Hikari's corpse itself, refusing even Mrs. Fujimoto's proposal, until Sato came. The entity, having identified Kobayashi's needs and that Sato could be a great candidate, forewarns that Sato would be turned into a doll to influence him to bring her to the Red Room. It ends up placing pieces of her face throughout the village for Kobayashi to use them once her curse activates. How does she get cursed? We all know that Sato has been dreaming of the Red Room, so this would mean the entity is already at play here. It would have influenced her to break the doll, releasing its curse upon her. The entity would have ties to the dolls and can manipulate their negative energy being housed within them. As the days pass, Kobayashi ends up feeling subjected to the side effects of the entity's powers, such as time skips, amnesia and severe hallucinations. While merciless as he is, Kobayashi also feels regret for his actions. His guilt worsens so much that he needs someone to validate his worries and make him feel less like a criminal and more like a victim for his actions. So while he tried to say the truth to Sato at the noodle shop, the entity does not want Kobayashi to ruin his needs to obtain a soul by exposing himself at a place where he has a disadvantage. The entity deceives Kobayashi in a dream world where the porcelain shard tells him to don't be afraid and to trust it. While there's a Jitsu statue which is believed to be the protector of lost children's souls, the one we see in his dream is all an illusion. It creates this false sense of protection and that the souls of the dead child is in good hands, as with the souls he takes from here onwards. It would seem that the entity has passed a specific message to Kobayashi. We as the players may not see in the form of text, but is felt by Kobayashi. It says to turn everyone into a doll. This way, he does not have to suffer from the pain of society, neither do they have to, as they all have a simplistic need, and that is to accompany Kobayashi. They can all be happy together with Kobayashi. Being at his worst mental state, he would end up believing its message. This is why Kobayashi states that he did not intend to harm Sato, but it had to be done. For some reason, the entity cannot kill anyone by itself and needs the help of Kobayashi. As for instance, if we let Sato escape, she does leave the place scot-free, suggesting that everything is in Kobayashi's hand and hence chooses to make certain decisions. The third night, the entity may have conceived the fragile butterfly and created a decoy soul that will occupy Sato's place. It would have placed it in the cage that day. This would explain how the butterfly appeared out of nowhere in the cage. Eventually, Kobayashi brings Sato to his house, ends up turning off the light and murdered her, letting the entity consume her soul and replacing it with a decoy one.
So what's happening? So in short, this is a combination of both Kobayashi suffering from not only his mental illness due to a lack of care as a result of his loneliness and him keeping himself busy from work, but also it's an entity that haunts him and haunts the villages. And that, I think, is the explanation for the doll shop.
But there are still many questions regarding this theory pending see. Explanations varying from Jitsu's dolls actually being powerful enough to ward off the evil presence from the village to everything being in Kobayashi's mind, which could all criticize my theory. There also seems to be inconsistencies with regards to powers of the entity, such as being able to conveniently place curses but not being able to kill the victims by itself. Many assumptions are being made based on insufficient information. We don't know how Hikari died, what Kobayashi's history is, and many needed answers, and there are other flaws with my conclusion that I may not be able to see through properly. There are still many mysteries to the game, such as where did Kobayashi get that butterfly from? Is that butterfly cursed in any way? What about some of the texts in Japanese? What do they mean? Such as will-o-wisp in Mrs. Fujimoto's house? Also, how can Kobayashi actually escape any form of investigation? Is someone helping him by any way? Well, the answer to that is all within the creators of the game, and we perhaps may never know it.
It gives a few but powerful messages, and that is to bring awareness to loneliness and as well as people in remote towns who are being neglected as people move away to more busier cities.
This game may get some of you in the first half, as we see from the story from Kobayashi's perspective, and you might feel sympathy for him. The real horror to me of the doll shop is how you can either decide to face the consequences for your actions or suffer from the regret of your choices by trying to escape reality. Either way, your suffering never ends. So guys, that's the end of the video, and I hope you really loved it. I put a lot of effort into making this to ensure that everybody enjoys the video, and yeah, you could, leave a like and subscribe. Comment down below how you think the theories are wrong, you suckers. I also want to give credit to Manly Badass's video on the doll shop that he made a while ago, which had a lot of comments that were pointing out in different directions with the game, like JUJUTSU statues and Natao Nagoro and all. That's where I got a lot of information where I should be researching and help me form my theory. Even the comments, there were some good theories, I would say. So yeah, please check that video out. I'll be leaving links down below to that. And then finally, check Atelier Center out. Jesus Christ, these guys' art is incredible. You gotta check their Instagram page. Like for instance, now I'm showing their website. Help them make more incredible games like this. I would also leave a link to their game. This game is absolutely free. You could try it out in itch.io. Finally, thanks for making my leftover videos do so well. I'm pretty grateful for a lot of people, and yeah, I'm actually speechless. I'm out of words. I got no idea what to say, but except for the fact that I'm pretty grateful for a lot of the things. This video making process was a fun journey, and yeah, hopefully by the time this video comes out, it's New Year. If it's late New Year, then wishing you a late delayed New Year. If it's New Year, then wish you a happy New Year. If it's early New Year, then wishing you an advanced New Year. Look at that. I'm prepared all the time. But that's it, guys. See y'all. Enjoy your holidays. And I'm out to get some silicone rubber dolls.